Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Following the rain bands, boy, some very heavy rain overnight in Charleston and in South Carolina. We're starting to see those first rain bands pushing into North Carolina. I'll let you know when you'll start to see heavy rain where you are.
And this morning, we are giving you a live look at Savannah, Georgia, as rain from Debbie has made its way there this morning. We are live in Wrightsville Beach and tracking the impact to other areas as well in the WRAL Live Center.
And a historic first on the gymnastics podium, the first time it has been made up of black gymnasts. We have a look at that moment and what's to come today in Paris. We have a lot to tell you about today on your Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Chris Lovingood. Obviously, Debbie, the biggest thing we're talking about today. We have a team that's out there covering it. Out in the field, here in the house, let's start with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. You've got the radar there. Clearly, Debbie's effects are being felt on the coast.
Yeah, we've been expecting this to be a big rainmaker because it's going to move so slowly. And boy, that heavy band of rain that's just north of Charleston dumped as much as a foot of rain, at least on the radar estimate. And now we're starting to see an outer rain band pushing into the Wilmington area, into our southern beaches, and on up toward Fayetteville and parts of our southern viewing area. Let's take a look here just southwest of Charleston, that brown shaded area. That puts us at a foot of rain, which is just incredible. Around Savannah, as much as 8 to 9 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. Let's move north, and you can see just an isolated shower pushing through parts of Harnett County. That is ahead of that first rain band, but down to the south around Lumberton, we're starting to see some of that first rain band moving on through. We followed the path of the storm. Again, it's going to be a slow mover. By Thursday morning, the center of the storm is still near Charleston, and then it begins to pick up some speed, and the center of the storm moves across North Carolina on Friday, and at that point, we might start to see some breezy conditions. Flood watch goes into effect at 9 a.m., so just about 30 more minutes or so, an hour or so, lasts until Friday, looking at 5 to 10 inches. And new this morning, we are under an extreme risk for flooding on Thursday, which is highly unusual for us. I'll show you the last time we saw that coming up. 5 to 7 inches in the north, 7 to 10 from the Triangle area southward, 10 to 15 closer to the Wilmington area. And of course, we're going to see that first rain band pushing on up between, say, Fayetteville and Raleigh by lunchtime, and then in the afternoon, moving on up through the Triangle and toward the Virginia line. Once we get that started, it continues all the way into maybe as late as Saturday morning. We'll see an increasing chance for rain, a messy evening commute at 70% chance. Flooding is going to be our biggest risk out of this storm. We may end up with some isolated power outages and some tornado threat as well. We'll take a closer look at that coming up in just a bit. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Updating a story that we've been following for the last hour or so, a crash on I-95 in the southbound lanes near Kenly, closing one lane. But in the last couple of minutes, what we've noticed is that delay that we've been seeing there on those southbound lanes near Kenly have dissipated, which means tells me that it's either off to the shoulder of the road or that crash is cleared. We're waiting to get confirmation from state troopers to determine whether or not, in fact, that crash is cleared. But no delays to report on I-95 South. Here in the Triangle and surrounding communities, monitoring this usual congestion we see around Jones Franklin Road in the morning. That's probably going to add a couple of minutes to a morning commute, so just keep that in mind if you're getting ready to head out. And also around the Triangle, traffic is definitely picked up in all the usual spots this morning. 87 coming in from Knightdale, adding a couple of minutes to your morning commute. The north and south side of the Beltline as well. And over in the Bull City, I-885 in both directions, a little bit of a delay this morning as you're heading out.
And we do this morning want to give you a live look at Charleston and Savannah this morning. You can see the rain from Debbie has already made its way along the coast there. Again, the left side there is Charleston, Savannah over to the right. Clearly the rain there on the lens. Here's what's new this morning. Right now, more than 150,000 homes are without power across the southeast, and at least 5 people have died as a result of the storm. At 11:30 last night, President Biden issued a state of emergency in Georgia, the same deal with Florida and South Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper has issued a state of emergency here in North Carolina. And our team coverage continues now with WRAL's Kelsey Coffey in Wrightsville Beach. Kelsey, we are already seeing the outer bands of the storm there.
Chris, we are. That rain has picked up within the last 15 minutes, so the beach is mostly cleared out now. You can see a small group of people that are gathered here, and there's one person way out there in the distance, but as the surf is picking up,
folks are moving out. Red flags will be flying on the beach this morning. The National Weather Service using that as a reminder for the high risk for rip currents. As we're anticipating nearly 2 months worth of rain in just 1 week, the biggest concern is flooding. New Hanover County Emergency Management used Hurricane Florence as a learning lesson. They now have more equipment to handle catastrophic flooding like high water vehicles. County officials say now is the time to review your emergency plan.
The best thing to do right now is to take a look at your own personal emergency plans. What's your comfort level? If the power were to go out today just because of, random Monday thunderstorm, well, what would your plan be? How would you take care of your family?
County officials are warning folks who live in this area. They say even though you've experienced one hurricane, that doesn't mean that you're prepared for this tropical storm. Every storm is different, so be sure to have your emergency plan in place. The county plans to issue updates on social media. I've been checking that throughout the morning. Haven't seen anything there yet, but I'll be sure to monitor it throughout the day. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wrightsville Beach.
And we take it right down the beach here in the WRAL Live Center. I'm Jeff Hogan, and we show you Curie Beach right now as we take a look at the effects of that surf rolling in at this hour. Now, we have been tracking this storm, obviously, since it came through Florida and up through Georgia and now South Carolina. There are 2 million people along coastal South Carolina and into North Carolina, just the southern area of our beaches right now, that are under some tornado watches for much of the day today. Places like Charleston, Myrtle Beach, we've been showing you these all the way up even towards Wilmington. We've been showing you all morning just the fear and the instability of what could happen with all of the supercells that could form and have formed, because it's produced a couple of tornadoes that have been caught on the ground in South Carolina. Those were seen last night, moving areas near Charleston, other areas closer to the beach as well, a little bit north of there. But a dozen tornado reports coming up through Florida and South Carolina, and just keeping an eye on what is happening as it moves in our direction. We'll be watching it.
Camera showing us how intense those whitecaps are becoming. Thank you, Jeff. WRAL will have team coverage from the coast all day and all week as Tropical Storm Debbie makes its way toward North Carolina. We are helping you get prepared before Debbie arrives and keeping you informed moment to moment as it moves.
WRAL is following a breaking development from overnight. A man was seriously hurt during a shooting in downtown Raleigh. You can see the shots left windows shattered. Nick Perlin was there in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker and has more.
Raleigh police were busy at 2 different crime scenes this morning in downtown Raleigh after one man was left seriously injured in a shooting. Now take a look at this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker, and this is the first crime scene right here on East Martin Street. You can see crime scene tape blocking off this area of Martin Street, as well as evidence markers here on the sidewalk. And I also want to show you this picture. This is a bullet hole right here smashing the glass here of this window. This is at the PNC Plaza. Now, like I said, there's another crime scene. This is just 2 blocks down the street from the one on East Martin Street. This is on Davie Street, and you can see crime scene tape again blocking off this area. Now, witnesses told me that they saw a man being taken into an ambulance truck, and then that man was taken to the hospital. We're still trying to learn from Raleigh police if these 2 crime scenes are at all connected, but we do know one man was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. We're also still trying to learn if they know who fired these gunshots early this morning. As new information becomes available, I'll be sure to update you. In Raleigh, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Today, Team USA will be looking to increase its medal count on the track and in the water at the Paris Olympics. This morning at 9 o'clock, we'll see who takes home the gold in the women's diving 10-meter platform final. Then at 11, the women's volleyball quarterfinals get underway with Team USA taking on Poland. Starting at 1:35 this afternoon, track and field events get underway with several men's and women's finals, including the women's hammer throw and the men's long jump. You can watch all of the action on WRAL. And there's been another history-making moment on the podium. You are looking at the first time a gymnastics podium has been entirely made up of black athletes. Simone Biles earned silver for the floor competition. Teammate Jordan Childs took bronze, and the pair bowing to Brazil's Rebecca Andrade, who won gold.
I love the camaraderie there. Team USA is increasing its lead in the overall medal count. Americans have won 79 medals so far, including 21 golds. China is in second place with 53 medals. France, Great Britain, and Australia round out the top 5. Now, to help you keep track of today's Olympic Games, we have a viewing guide on WRAL.com. That is where you can follow your favorite sports and your favorite athletes. Find the complete schedule day by day and learn what's on each channel and streaming and when on WRAL.com. Just search the words Olympics schedule.
Time now 8:10. A change of plans for VP Harris as she had to postpone her visit to Raleigh planned for this week. Coming up, when we're expected to learn her running mate and who she's narrowed it down to.
And hundreds of people in Florida have already had to be rescued from their homes because of flooding in their neighborhoods. We are going to check in there with a look at some of that flooding. Elizabeth.
And the first rain band from Debbie is about to move into our viewing area. You can see that rain down here in Lumberton, about to move into Fayetteville, Clinton, and over toward Hope County. I'll show you the timeline on Futurecast for the rest of the day coming up.
Welcome back. 8:14 on your Tuesday morning. This is a live look at Carolina Beach. You can see the waves going there, some rain coming down already. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. It looks like the Wilmington area getting some of the outer bands of Debbie as we wait for it to make its way up the coast. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has been tracking the storm very closely. We're expecting a lot of rain.
We are. We have a flood watch that goes into effect just in about 30 minutes or so. What we've seen overnight is around Charleston, we've had one of these very heavy rain bands dumping a lot of rain. Now we're starting to see one of these outer bands of rain moving in to our southern beaches and around the Wilmington area, up around Lumberton. That first rain band starting to creep very close to our southern counties. Let's talk about that rain band from Charleston. Over a foot of rain was the radar estimate from overnight last night, and down around Savannah, 7 to 8 inches of rain. So the storm definitely has a history of producing a lot of very heavy rain. We take a look at our dual Doppler 5000 radar, starting to pick up on that first rain band moving through Lumberton. Worth a mention that the Lumber River was already on the high side, and it is likely to be one of the first rivers to start to flood potentially in the next couple of days. A little stray shower near Sanford over toward Lillington this morning ahead of that first rain band. Watch that rain band moving northward. By lunchtime, it's moved through Fayetteville and Clinton and on its way to Durham and Raleigh. Once that starts, we're going to continue to see rain bands on and off all the way through Friday, maybe into Saturday morning. Look how heavy it looks there Wednesday at around 5 o'clock. We have a high risk for flooding Wednesday and an extreme risk on Thursday. We have WRAL weather alert days for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Flood watch goes into effect, as I mentioned, coming up actually in about 45 minutes. We also have a level 1 risk for severe storms along and east of I-95 on Thursday. And we have a tornado watch that was just issued down for some of the coastal counties. That could spread northward over the next couple of days. Seeing tornadoes is something that we see fairly often with systems that have moved inland from the ocean. Flood risk Wednesday is high, but look at this on Thursday. It's extreme from the Triangle area southward. That is something that we don't see very often. The last time we saw it, September 5th, 2019, with Hurricane Dorian. So here's a look at some of those rainfall totals. Closer to the coast, down into South Carolina, up to 20 inches. Wilmington area, 10 to 15. From Raleigh southward, 7 to 10. And our northern counties around 5 to 7. So significant impacts. Let's talk about the coast a little bit more. There's a tropical storm watch for some strong gusty winds from around Surf City toward Myrtle Beach, where it becomes an actual tropical storm warning. And then a storm surge watch for 2 to 4 feet of storm surge along our southern coast. Lots of beach erosion likely with this as well. Some isolated tornadoes. We already have that tornado watch that's in effect, and 10 to 15 inches of flooding there along the coast. So a lot of impact there, a lot of impact here as well. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about how strong our winds will be and our chances for some power outages. Ken?
At 8:17, Elizabeth, all new into the WRAL Traffic Center. We just got reports of a crash that happened on 87 in the southbound lanes near I-540. We're not seeing any delays in that particular area of 87, but look at the the delays we're seeing right now from Bethlehem Road all the way back to State Road 15, State Road 501. We're looking to see exactly what's going on, but this is probably just the morning congestion that we're seeing out there. Let's take you out to I-87 and I-540. You can't see the crash on this camera, but clearly we're not seeing any delay in either direction. But I'll keep monitoring I-87 for you, those southbound lanes, to let you know how much it will continue to affect your morning commute this morning. Elsewhere around the Triangle and surrounding communities, you see the northbound lanes of the Beltline this morning. Things have really settled down just a little bit because that was bumper-to-bumper traffic a little while ago. Similarly, in the south side of the Beltline as well, probably a couple of minutes to your morning commute this morning. I-885 in Durham, you're looking at a little bit of a slowdown as you make your way into the Bull City this morning. Of course, if you're listening to us on the radio, we do appreciate that. You could do the same if you're heading out. Listen to us at 99.3 FM in Raleigh and 96.5 FM in Durham.
This morning, Kamala Harris is expected to announce who her running mate will be. It comes just hours after she officially became the Democratic nominee for president. In a statement just before midnight, the Democratic National Convention announced Harris received 99% of the votes in 5 days on online balloting. Now, Harris's running mate announcement will be before her rally in Philadelphia. The finalists include Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Harris planned to be in Raleigh this week with her running mate, but that's been canceled because of the arrival of Debbie.
Just into the newsroom, we now know a man died in the hospital after he was shot in Raleigh last night. Police are trying to make an arrest in the shooting. This happened on Navajo Drive off Wake Forest Road near the Beltline. That happened just after 8 o'clock last night. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows the large number of police officers and first responders on that scene. The case is now being investigated as a homicide.
Tonight, you can share your thoughts about the state of public safety in Durham. The city is hosting a public safety community listening session, and that is from 6 to 8 tonight. It's happening at the W.D. Hill Recreation Center on Fayetteville Street. Representatives from public safety departments will be there, along with the Emergency Communications Center. They'll also share data and crime and fire statistics, 911 call volumes, and mental health calls.
The WRAL storm tracker is in Georgia today as Debbie drops heavy rains. This is what it looked like yesterday as the storm tracker made its way south toward Savannah. Water was already covering roads, making the drive tough. Multiple cars were stranded. Many roads were also blocked off. You can see live updates from meteorologist Amy Wilmoth from the WRAL storm tracker later today and also throughout the week.
And Michelle, hundreds of people were rescued from their homes in Florida because Debbie flooded their neighborhoods. In this video, you'll see the rescue truck here taking people to safety. Several roads are still closed in Sarasota and Manatee counties. The storm dumped more than a foot of rain in those areas as it passed.
And the city of Raleigh is making preparations before the rain from Debbie arrives here. Crews have started lowering the water levels at local lakes to prevent flooding. At Lake Johnson in Raleigh, the water has already been lowered by several feet.
So you'll see the water getting lower in the lake. But during the storm events, what we're hoping they will not see is additional flooding that could potentially happen downstream.
And it's not just the lakes. The DOT also getting its equipment ready for the roads. Crew members are fueling up and testing equipment, including 1,500 chainsaws and trucks. They're also pulling together road closure and high water signs, as well as barricades to have them ready.
Payment apps can be quick, they can be convenient, but they're also vulnerable to scams. Jen Sullivan explains how you can avoid falling victim to scams and the changes lawmakers want to make.
PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, they're all highly popular apps to send and receive money digitally. But these apps, while convenient, are also an easy target for scams. And last year alone, consumers reported losing $210 million to scammers on payment apps. That's 62% more than 2 years ago. Here's an email one consumer recently was sent. It looks like a legitimate receipt from PayPal. And if you call the number at the top, you are connected to someone claiming to be a customer service agent. But this is a scam.
They are going to walk you through a process that's going to mirror how you legitimately tied these accounts together. But they're going to be collecting all of that information, your financial information, your user name and password.
Here's how you can tell. First, the email says your Visa debit card ending in XXXX. There's not actual numbers. Also, look at who's sending the message. Call your bank to confirm if those charges are there.
The scammers are banking on you panicking and reaching out immediately without thinking.
While some payment apps offer protections, existing laws don't require banks to reimburse customers who authorize transactions to scammers. But a group of Democratic lawmakers are hoping to change that. During a hearing last month, they asked leaders of some of the biggest banks about these scams and want to see them do more to protect consumers.
If you're reimbursing, then you have a financial incentive to impose stronger measures.
They've introduced a new bill that would protect consumers who are defrauded when they make payments to scam artists on platforms like Zelle and Venmo.
That was Jen Sullivan reporting. A man was injured during an early morning shooting in downtown Raleigh, and we have an update on the shooting that left PNC Plaza's windows shattered this morning.
And we'll leave you with this live look over Savannah, Georgia, as Debbie's impacts are already being felt there. We'll check in with WRAL's Kelsey Coffey closer to us. She's live at Wrightsville Beach. That's just ahead.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We want to get you a live look over Carolina Beach. Rain coming down, the waves ripping there as Tropical Storm Debbie makes its way up the coast. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is tracking Debbie's every move, and she has when it will arrive in Raleigh.
Yeah, those first rain bands now pushing in around the Wilmington area. We just saw Carolina Beach. That's about to push into Fayetteville and some of our southern counties here. Probably within the next hour to 2 hours, you could see that leading edge of the rain just about to move into Fayetteville and Clinton. Eventually this afternoon, right around lunchtime or early afternoon, we're going to see that moving into the Triangle area. We're up to a 70% chance of rain during the evening commute, so it's about to get really messy. Flood watch goes into effect in 30 minutes. It lasts through Friday. 5 to 10 inches of rain across our area. A lot of cloud cover out there. Little sun's been trying to peek through this morning. Expect that potential for rain to really pick up during the afternoon. It may be a little breezy. Highs will be in the mid-80s.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WO Traffic Center. We continue to monitor the traffic that's really built up on some of our major roadways this morning, including the Beltline and surrounding communities. That crash we've been monitoring also on 87 South, probably adding about 5 minutes to your time coming in from Nidale. Similarly, we're seeing a 5-minute delay on US 1 coming in from Wake Forest as well. So keep that in mind if you're getting ready to head out and head to work or an appointment this morning. In the Bull City, though, very little to no delays to report heading into Durham.
Thanks, Ken. One man was taken to the hospital with serious injuries after an early morning shooting in downtown Raleigh. It happened around 1 o'clock this morning. You can see glass shattered at the PNC Plaza on Fayetteville Street. Police are working to find the suspected shooter. And next on Fox 50, we'll take you live out to North Carolina's coast as rain and wind from Debbie begin to move in. And next on Today, Blake Lively and Jenny Slate on their new movie, It Ends With.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Following the new rain bands moving on up into North Carolina, affecting the coast around the Wilmington area and about to move into some of our southern counties. I'll show you when you'll start to see the heaviest rain today.
And we have team coverage of Debbie as rain from the system makes its way to our coast. We are live at Wrightsville Beach. We're monitoring the impacts in other states in the WRAL Live Center as well.
Plus, we still have your Olympic coverage. Team USA looking to bring home more gold in track and field today. We're going to bring you the big moments from Paris, including Valerie Allman throwing her way to gold in the women's discus throw. Always looks easy until you see someone do it and try it for yourself.
And then you try it yourself and you're like, nope, they can do it.
There's a reason they're called Olympians. Hey, thanks for joining us here on WRAL News on Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. We need to get right over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. She's tracking Tropical Storm Debbie as it moves closer to North Carolina. Elizabeth, we're starting to see those outer bands.
Yeah, we are expecting to see those first rain bands this morning, and we're definitely seeing some heavier rain just south of Wilmington, and those first bands beginning to move into our area. This particular band right here that's north of Charleston, as it moved through the Charleston area, dumped a lot of heavy rain overnight last night. You can see the brown shaded area. That's going to be a radar estimated foot of rain, and then down around Savannah, 8 to 9 inches. So along its path, it's definitely producing a lot of heavy rain along these rain bands. Starting to see more of rain moving into Hoke County and about to cross the line into Cumberland and starting to move into Sampson County. This is our first rain band. Started to rain in Lumberton just about an hour or so ago. The Lumber River is going to be really the first one at risk for flooding. So if you live in that area, just be very careful, cautious. If you're in a place that typically floods, this is going to be a time when it's very likely. We're going to see that rain band moving closer to the Triangle area by around lunchtime or early afternoon. And once we get this first rain band moving through, it's on. We're going to see this all the way through Friday night. Our chances for rain this morning in the Triangle pretty minimal, but 70% chance by this evening. Flood watch about to go in effect and last until Friday, as much as 5 to 10 inches of rain. And this is unusual for us. We're in extreme risk for flooding on Thursday. Last time we saw that was 5 years ago. Here's a look at our potential rainfall totals, as much as 5 to 7 in our northern counties, 7 to 10 from Raleigh southward, and 10 to 15 a little closer to the coast. So by far, flooding is going to be the biggest threat out of this system. The main way people get into trouble during flooding is in their cars. If you come across floodwater, turn around and go the other way. We do have a minimal risk for some wind and possibly some power outages. We're going to take a closer look at what some of our wind speeds could get to coming up, Ken.
Hi, Elizabeth. Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to monitor a crash on I-87 in those southbound lanes this morning. It's near I-540. We're not seeing any delays in that particular area of I-87, but look at the delays we're seeing right now, not far from that crash. Right now we're seeing this is part of the morning congestion that we're seeing that's coming up this morning on I-87 in southbound lanes. But take a look at, it's going to add about a 4-minute delay time to your drive in from Nightdale, so keep that in mind. Similarly, you're coming in from Wake Forest, you're adding about 5 minutes this morning, so pack in some extra time this morning coming into the capital city. Also around the communities, we're seeing the northern side of the Beltline and the south side of the Beltline, that community in terms of the traffic building this morning. And we also got reports of a disabled vehicle on Durant Road in the eastbound lane near Falls River Avenue, not causing any problems on Durant Road this morning.
We'll take you live out to Carolina Beach this morning. You can see the rain and wind there, the waves from Tropical Storm Debbie as that storm moves up our state's coast. So here's what we know this morning. More than 150,000 homes across the southeast are without power. At least 5 people have died as a result of the storm. And at 11:30 last night, President Biden issued a state of emergency in Georgia following Florida and South Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper issued a state of emergency here in North Carolina. And we have team coverage of Debbie's impact and the preparations for its arrival here in North Carolina. Jeff Hogan is in the WRAL Live Center with a look at the flooding in Florida. But first, we'll start with WRAL's Kelsey Coffey. Kelsey, you're on Wrightsville Beach, and you're already feeling the effects of the storm.
Michelle, we are very similar conditions to what we saw in the last half hour. I mentioned before that people are starting to clear out the beach, so you can see that there is a family down there, and you may be able to see way farther on the other side that there's some surface there. They're trying to catch a few waves. We even have our friends over here, the Phelps ladies. They spoke with us a little bit earlier about their trip here, potentially could be canceled. So we'll talk a little bit more about that on WRAL News at noon. Now, we did speak with New Hanover County's emergency management team ahead of the storm.
Opportunity from Florence to learn not only, from our community itself and how we can better support and make improvements in our infrastructure, but from our surrounding localities, the surrounding jurisdictions, the surrounding states.
County officials are warning folks who live in this area to make sure that they have an emergency plan. They say just because you've experienced one hurricane, that does not mean that you're prepared for this tropical storm. Every storm is different, so get that emergency plan in place. They say that they will have some updates on social media throughout the week, so I'll be sure to monitor that throughout the day. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wrightsville Beach.
And Jeff Hogan at the WRAL Live Center. We can take it right up the beach from where Kelsey is. Surf City, take a look, because it hasn't quite gotten up their way yet. So a little bit of last-minute fishing they're trying to get in before things go south on them, and we'll take you south. This is Curie Beach. A look at the Surf Checks camera from Curie Beach, the fishing pier right there. Nobody out there right now. That is south of where Kelsey is. We'll take it even further south. This is just south of Charleston, okay? Folly Beach, south of Charleston. Some big waves rolling in there. And as we continue to move back towards the origin of this, I wanted to take you back to Sarasota, Florida here, because they are dealing with storm surge that came in, severe flooding that is happening right there. Rescuers, you see the traffic there, folks trying to make their way around here a day after this storm left that area, but it left thousands without power right now. Rescuers are just now getting back, returning into that area to try to help folks who still need help from that severe flooding there, and days away from this receding and becoming less of a problem for them.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And WRAL will have team coverage from the coast all day and all week as Tropical Storm Debbie makes its way toward North Carolina. We are helping you get prepared before Debbie arrives here, and we'll be here to help you stay safe during the storm as well. Yesterday evening was the calm before the storm, the pretty side of Debbie. Meteorologist Chris Michaels joins us to show us why tropical systems often lead to pretty sunsets before causing damage. I noticed it out my back door. It was beautiful.
It was very hard to miss, right? And it was probably the one good thing that we'll see out of Debbie. And reason being is on the outer edge of tropical systems, you get these high clouds that are flowing out from them. And these clouds, they're made of either ice crystals or super cooled water droplets. So when the sun is low in the sky, its beam spreads out and its light refracts or bends off those crystals and droplets. What that does is it exposes these really pretty colors. What a shot here from Tara in Raleigh. It does not get much prettier than that. We've got another one here from Anna in Rayford with the dog enjoying the view as well. Prior to sunset, when the sun was obviously higher in the sky, same thing. There were ice crystals up there, but the sun's light was being bent at a very specific angle, 22 degrees, and that gives you that halo right there. Valerie out of Hope Mills with a great shot prior to sunset. Now comes the dirty side of the storm. Go to WRAL.com, search Weather Watchers. That's where you can send in your pictures. Flood watch in effect that goes into effect in 22 minutes, and it lasts through Friday night. Elizabeth is mapping out when we see the highest flood risk coming up.
Today, Team USA will try to increase its medal count on the track and in the water at the Paris Olympics. This morning at 9 is the women's diving 10-meter platform final. Then at 11, the women's volleyball quarterfinals get underway with Team USA taking on Poland. At 1:35 this afternoon, track and field events get underway with several men's and women's finals. This includes the women's hammer throw and the men's long jump. You can watch all the action over on WRAL. And Team USA will also try to keep the winning streak going in track and field. Sam Kendricks got silver in the pole vault yesterday. He got second behind Sweden's Mondo Duplantis. He set another world record. And the reason why I'm laughing is because he's done that 9 times. So impressive. Valerie Allman secured a gold medal finish in the women's discus throw competition. She threw the second place finisher by 2 meters. Just a reminder, this is her second gold medal in a row. She also won the event in the Tokyo Olympics. Team USA is basically increasing its lead in the overall medal count. Americans have won 79 medals so far, including 21 golds. China is in second place with 53 medals. France, Great Britain, and Australia rounding out the top 5.
Coming up for us here on Fox 50, Wake County school teachers and bus drivers may soon get a raise. We'll tell you how much they could see.
And another massive fire is burning in California. We are going to bring you video of the fire that is destroying homes there. Giving you a live look outside at Wrightsville Beach this morning. You can see those white caps coming in there. I was a little concerned because Kelsey Coffey was saying some people are trying to get out in their water there. We've got meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner here right now in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. I may not be in the water on a day like today, Elizabeth.
It would be a bad idea. Rip current danger is going to be high. And of course, we're starting to see some of those first rain bands. It's rainy there along the coast, especially at Carolina Beach, Wrightsville Beach, and our southern coastline. We've seen a lot of heavy rain overnight in South Carolina, especially around the Charleston area. We've had a heavy band of rain. It started to move northward up a little little closer to Myrtle Beach at this point, but boy, dumped a lot of heavy rain there. Let's zoom in, and you can see some heavy rain in our southeastern counties of North Carolina. We are now starting to see some rain in our viewing area. This first rain band moving in. We've had some rain there in Lumberton for a bit, and the Lumber River is going to be the first one to come up. So if you live along the Lumber River in a place that tends to flood, just be ready to go for higher ground, probably by tomorrow, if not before. Look at this, over a foot of rain, radar estimated in Charleston in the last 24 hours, and in Savannah, Georgia, it's been about 7 to 8 to 9 inches, depending on where you are. Let's jump on in and take a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. We are now seeing rain in Clinton, and it is showing up on the camera. I will show you that in just a few minutes. This is rain band number 1. It's likely to affect Fayetteville here probably in the next 30 minutes to an hour. Seeing rain in Hoke County. It's headed for Southern Pines, and by lunchtime, we may start to see some of this closer to the Triangle. Here's a live look at Clinton this morning, and that rain is coming down. It will be heavy at times. This is the first rain that we've picked up on our camera from this first rain band with Debbie. As that rain band moves northward, let me back up. Let's take a look at that again. Check out Futurecast. By around lunchtime, it's moving from Goldsboro to Southern Pines through parts of Johnston County, just after lunchtime into the Triangle. And then once we start to see that rain, it will be with us on and off. These bands of rain will move through. We'll get a break. Another band comes through, and it will be heavy at times. Look at this, 5 o'clock tomorrow, very heavy rain moving through. We have a high risk for flooding for tomorrow and an extreme risk on Thursday. We have a flood watch in effect starting just about 15 minutes from now, lasting till Friday, 5 to 10 inches of rain. We have a level 1 risk on Thursday for isolated tornadoes, which is pretty typical with landfalling tropical systems. Look at that. We have a new tornado warning that's down around the Wilmington area. Tornado watch there. So that's going to be Brunswick County, southwest of Wilmington. Tornado warning in effect now. We'll switch it to flood risk, all these red colors, but this is our flood risk. It's a high risk from the Triangle area southward for tomorrow, and it's an extreme risk on Thursday. And that's something that we just don't see very often. Last time we saw that was 5 years ago, 2019, during Hurricane Dorian. So we're going to take that very seriously. As much as 20 inches of rain across parts of South Carolina, maybe even down toward Lumberton, 5 to 7 in our northern counties, Raleigh southward 7 to 10, and 10 to 15 closer to Wilmington. It will continue to follow this system. It's going to be a very slow mover. There's Thursday into Friday. Flooding is going to be our main threat, but into Thursday and Friday, when the center moves across North Carolina, we're going to have a slightly better chance for some windy conditions, looking at peak wind gusts at around 35 to 40 around our area, and that could bring some isolated power outages. Some of those may be scattered. The orange shaded area, especially along the coast, is going to be scattered power outages. Temperatures will be in the low 80s. Coming up in just a few minutes in our 9 o'clock newscast, Chris Michaels will have more on our coastal impacts.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. And covering Wake County, today, school board members will discuss approving raises for teachers and bus drivers. They're considering raising the minimum pay for bus drivers to $20 an hour. They also have plans for supplemental increases for educators, along with other raises. The school board first spoke about these raises in the spring. Staff says they can happen now after the legislature approved the scheduled 2024-25 state pay raises. The board's discussion starts at 3 o'clock today. The vote is scheduled for the evening session, which begins at 5:30. Also, the Wake County school system says it has enough bus drivers to cover every route this school year. According to the agenda for today's school board meeting, Wake Schools has more drivers at this point than last year. It also has fewer planned routes, so fewer drivers are required. It's unclear how that might change how long it takes students to get to school.
Brand new information just into the WRAL Live Center story we've been following all morning for you. The WRAL breaking news tracker was on the scene at PNC Plaza, where it found the shattered glass gunshot holes in it this morning. Raleigh police were called there just after 1 o'clock this morning. It's the 300 block of Fayetteville Street. Police got there because they had gotten a report of a shooting, that somebody had been shot there. As it turns out, there is a second scene here that we can show you, Davie and Blunt Streets, because somebody was shot, a man was shot, and he took off from that scene and ran over to the area of Davie and Blunt Street intersection there, which is where police found him. He was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. He is expected to survive, but that connects these two scenes. That was a question we've been asking for answers for all morning long. There's been no arrests made in this case. The investigation continues.
Thank you for that update, Jeff. Today might be a better day for your 401k. After hours and international trading show, the markets may be bouncing back after the Dow fell more than 1,000 points yesterday. As Amy Kiley reports, some investors think the Fed has kept interest rates too high for too long and are worried about a recession.
Everything is always on the table, whether that's increases, cuts, et cetera.
The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago president is trying to reassure investors after recession fears caused days of market chaos. But don't expect an emergency meeting to cut rates. He says it's not the panel's job to pump up the stock market.
The Fed's job is very straightforward. Maximize employment, stabilize prices, and maintain financial stability. If the conditions collectively start coming in that on the through line, there's deterioration on any of those parts, we're going to fix it.
In fact, the whole point of keeping interest rates high is to cool the economy, to bring down inflation.
And this is to be expected. This was entirely predictable. Bearing in mind we had 11 increases in interest rates in barely 2 years, a phenomenal amount of tightening. It crushed inflation exactly as it was supposed to. But then, of course, you've got the other side. Eventually, unemployment starts to rise.
That's why Friday's report of a 0.2 percentage point unemployment increase matters. Right now, the GDP indicates a pretty good economy. The Fed is trying to time rate cuts just right to reduce inflation without causing a recession.
Has the Fed left it too late? The consensus is probably yes.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The Fed has another meeting scheduled for about 6 weeks from now, and then it could cut rates.
Boeing executives are set to face questions from the National Transportation Safety Board today about January's in-flight door plug blowout. The NTSB is holding 2 days of public testimony. The airline's senior vice president of quality and vice president of supplier quality are scheduled to appear. The board is planning to ask them about the lack of documentation that led to the plane being delivered to Alaska Airlines without critical bolts in place.
U.S. personnel are believed to have been injured in a suspected rocket attack in Iraq, and President Biden says he is briefed on this. This happened at the Al-Assad Air Base. The rocket attack came during a time concerns are growing about a spillover from the Israel-Hamas war. The fear is a wider conflict would be caused because of assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah leadership last week.
A devastating brush fire in California has damaged several homes. You can see in this video here, the Edge Hill fire broke out around 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. This happened in San Bernardino County. It quickly spread. Evacuations were ordered for all people living in the neighborhood as flames consumed homes. At least one home burned down to the foundation. Firefighters are working to contain the fire from the air and on the ground. It is still unclear what sparked the flames.
And Michelle, overseas tensions are intensifying in the UK. That's because of protesters and police confronting each other over the weekend. That happened because of a stabbing at a children's exercise class in England last week. 3 girls were killed and others were injured. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer held an emergency security meeting yesterday to talk about a response to the riots. Buildings burning and angry citizens storming hotels were only some of the scenes that played out.
A group of air travelers are suing CrowdStrike over last month's tech outage that caused thousands of flights to be canceled. The 3 flyers blame the cybersecurity firm of negligence in testing and deploying its software. The plaintiffs say travelers had to spend hundreds of dollars on other ways to get to their destinations, while some suffered health problems from sleeping on airport floors. They're asking to be compensated for the money spent and awarded damages as well.
New this morning, the Chicago White Sox lost their 21st game in a row last night. They fell to the Oakland A's 5-1. The White Sox losing streak ties the record for the longest in American League history. The Baltimore Orioles lost 21 games in a row in 1988. The White Sox will try to snap the losing streak they have to play the A's again tonight. And my dad is a big White Sox fan. It's hard at home for him.
Oh, not so good. And if you can believe it, football's almost here. The Panthers will practice today before heading to New England to face the Patriots on Thursday. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. You can watch the game live right here on Fox 50. This will be our first time seeing the Panthers under the leadership of their new coach, Dave Canales.
Just in case you missed it, we do have your winning lottery numbers here on your screen for Monday, August 5th. We'll get you another check of weather and traffic up next.